I've always loved that hit. Hey everyone, welcome back to more Final Fantasy VII. We are at part 8. In the last part we kind of got some backstory on Sephiroth, and in this part, it's a bit of a shorter part because I kind of miscalculated how much I would have to edit out here. This is a very gameplay centered part, not a lot of story here. We are heading to the Chocobo farm so we can progress in the story. We're going to meet or see a lot of new enemies. I can kind of spend some time here talking about gameplay mechanics a bit more and show off Matra Magic, which as you will see does a ton of damage at this point in the game. It will kill most random encounters in a single turn, so it's really good. Highly recommend you get Matra Magic. But yeah, we were just heading to the Chocobo farm. Like I said, I made some, because the initial recording of this part was actually longer than any other part I've recorded, but then editing wise it actually ended up being the shortest just because I got some bad RNG later and made some mistakes here that I had to cut out, but you'll see that. Yeah, these bird guys, a lot of these enemies, early enemies, they're nothing special. You don't really got much to worry about, especially if you have Matra Magic, because one Matra Magic, then one spell from somebody else, and they're gone. They're out of there. So yeah. We will also be getting here in just a minute the first summon of this part of this game. I think I'm heading in there right now, or maybe I think I might be trying to get another level on them. Actually, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Trying to get into another battle. Also, just to show off some of the enemies that you might run into if you are playing this game. Yeah. These guys, don't cast magic on these guys. They only, physical attacks are way better. They don't have a ton of health, so just use physical attacks. Magic will do pretty much nothing to them. So just remember that. But they also give quite a bit of experience. I think the 4 of them here will give me about 300 experience or something. So yeah, they're kind of good to grind off of if you feel like you're under leveled, but like I said, grinding is really not necessary, especially at this point in the game. It's really only becomes necessary if you're going for optional super bosses way later. But even then, there are some ways you can cheese those bosses if you really don't want to grind. And there's me. I gave Barrett a new weapon that lets him, that actually is not long range, so I have to put him in the front row. Hey, look, chocobos. You just gotta interact with them in some way, and then they'll do a little dance for you. Chocobos, in case you don't know, are in every Final Fantasy since the second game in the series. They've been in every single one. They're kind of like, if there is a mascot of Final Fantasy, it would be probably them, or either them or the Moogles, but Chocobos have been in more games than the Moogles have, so probably these guys. They're just big, stupid birds. Yeah, they give you a little dance, and then you'll get the Chocomog materia, which is our first summon materia, and I'll show that off here in a bit. Summons are basically, you can only use them at the beginning once per battle. As you level up the materia, you can use them more times per battle, but they are typically very strong attacks that cost a lot of MP to use, but they're also really useful if you're in a pinch or just want to blast through enemies pretty quick. They're good. Summon materials are good. They also typically come with these really flashy, over-the-top animations that only get more so as you play the game. So, yeah. That's actually a common complaint with this game, that the summon animations can take a little too long, and there's no way to shorten them. Which is where the speed up feature in the re-releases becomes really useful, because you can cast those summons and speed them up so the animation doesn't take nearly as long. Some attack animations also for enemies later in the game one in particular with the final boss can be pretty long too. That one I'm talking about with the final boss takes about a minute and a half, so just be prepared for that. And then here we are going to buy a chocobo, or buy a chocobo lure so we can lure chocobos and catch them. But I actually messed up. I don't have 2,000 gil right now, so oops, as I say here, and now I gotta go out and grind. But this is a good opportunity to show off the summon materia that we got, so I'm just gonna show that off really quick, and then I'll cut ahead to when I have the 2,000 gil so we can keep going. Just be sure you go in there with 2,000 gil. Don't be stupid like me. Because you need to buy the chocobo lure, because you need to catch a chocobo to progress, because to the south there's this little like area that's this giant snake monster is in, and if you can't outrun it, it'll catch up to you, and then you will be in for the fight of your life, because that thing is super strong. You will not be able to beat it, so it will kill you. So you need the chocobo to be able to outrun it. Anyways, I'm just going to cut back here. We got the 2,000 gil now. You can buy it. And there we go. Ta-da! As you see, yeah, and then we also need to buy some greens. Catching a chocobo is actually a bit more complicated. In the earlier games, it was just typically, in like Final Fantasy VI, you could kind of rent one for some gil, or in 4, you just found a chocobo forest and then you just got on one. Here, you actually have to get into a battle and catch the chocobo, which, if you know about this game, you know that catching chocobos is part of a huge side quest that you can do around halfway into Disc 2, or any time after that. It's a huge side quest that can take a ton of time, especially if you don't know what you're doing. I will be doing that side quest and showing it off and kind of showing you more of the easy way to do it, where it takes, because the side quest itself can take like 3 or 4 hours, but I do it, and I'm going to be doing it in less than an hour. And I got lucky here with the chocobo lure. You just run on those footsteps, and then you will eventually run into a chocobo. And the way you catch a chocobo is you got to keep it from running away, and you do that by feeding it greens, so it's distracted and it doesn't get scared by us attacking the other enemies. Do not attack it. If you attack it, it will freak out and attack all of your party and then run away. And that's not what you want. So only use single hit attacks on the enemies. Do not attack the chocobo itself. And also just keep it occupied eating those greens. Because also, like I said, it can get scared and run away. Also, you kind of just gotta, it's not super hard, but also you kind of have to have some luck, because sometimes he'll just run away anyway, from my experience. So just remember that, and there you go. I got lucky and caught it on my first try, ran into one on my first try and caught it on my first try, but you might not get as lucky. But the RNG gods end up evening it out later, as you'll see in this part, because I get really unlucky with something a bit later. But no, see, there's that snake creature, and we just got to get past it with the chocobo. And I stop here for a second, just listen to this music. This music's incredible. Goosebumps, man. There's something about this game's soundtrack. But anyways, we're gonna keep going. But Cloud and the gang find a pretty horrific sight. Sephiroth has been here, and that giant snake creature that would kill us instantly if we ran into it, Sephiroth killed it. He impaled it through a tree. That's a pretty gruesome image. But like, wasn't an issue for him. So he's pretty strong. But anyways, we're gonna head into this cave here. This is the first real, I guess you could say, dungeon of the game, but like, they're not like Zelda dungeons or anything. There aren't really any puzzles to solve in this game's like caves and dungeons. And this one's pretty short. It's only like 3 screens, I'm pretty sure. But if you go up there, you can find the long-range materia, which basically means that if you give it to somebody who has a weapon that's not typically long-range, that weapon will now become long-range, which means that they can attack from the back row. So it's really good, basically. I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm taking that off. Oh, I see. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to give Cloud the cover materia, because now he will be in the back row. And since he has good defense, he will be able to cover people super well. Because if you remember, the person covering will take back row damage. If they're in the back row, they will take back row damage no matter what, even if they're covering somebody in the front row. So you want to give cover to somebody in the back row. And I forget to move Cloud to the back row here because I'm an idiot. But I think I'm going to do that in a bit, so don't you worry. Here we got we're going to get another enemy skill from this enemy. This is Flamethrower, a single hit attack. We just need to get it to hit Tifa. It's a pretty good fire-based attack for this point in the game. It does a good amount of damage, so I don't use it as much as Matron Magic, specifically because it doesn't hit all targets, but it can still be very useful. It's stronger than Fire 1, not quite as strong as Fire 2, but it costs way less MP than Fire 2, so it's a pretty good move overall, early on anyway. And now we just gotta let the RNG gods be on our side and get it to attack Tifa, who is holding the enemy skill. Oh, nope. And I'm just kind of waiting around for it. There we go. And now I'm just gonna go crazy on it. Learning enemy skills can be a little irritating sometimes, but it's definitely better than how Final Fantasy IX handles it, where you have to basically kind of go Pokemon on an enemy, get it down to super low health, and then have the blue mage in that game, their name is Kina, try to eat it. And then if it's at low enough health, they will be able to eat it and get whatever power that it has. But not every enemy has a power, and since there's no health bars on the screen, unlike Pokemon, it can be kind of infuriating. So I don't really use Kina in that game because of that, but except if I'm doing an exploit, but that's besides the point. This game handles it much better, where you just have to get the enemy to cast the skill on you. That's how Final Fantasy V handles it, and I'm pretty sure that's how Final Fantasy VI handles it. But Final Fantasy VI, I don't feel the need to use blue magic in that game because there's so many other ways to break that game in half, it doesn't really matter. If you want one of the easiest Final Fantasies, play 6. 6 is pretty easy. Just because there are some exploits and just some balance issues in that game that make it really easy to break. Still not as easy as, say, like the US version of 4 that came out on the Super Nintendo. That version is stupid easy. Of course, if you want a more balanced experience, play 7 or 9. Neither of them are very hard games, but those are, difficulty-wise, much better balanced than the 4 or 6. Or if you want the best difficulty, you play 5. Because 5 is actually hard. Okay, so now we have run into the Turks here, who, they're just kind of chatting. They're basically warning us, like, don't get in their way. They're going after Sephiroth. You know, just stay out of their way. We got a new member here. This is Elena. So yeah. Also, we injured Reno pretty bad. So that's not good. Well, it's good for us. It's not good for them. So yeah. They're going after Sephiroth too, and they're like, stay out of our way. Which of course we're going after Sephiroth. So it's interesting because the Shinra is bad to us. Like, they're the bad guys but also Sephiroth is the bad guy, and they're both kind of after the same things. I kind of find that interesting. Also, Elena is new, and I kind of like this dynamic where, like, she's still learning. So, like, you know, the Turks are human too. They aren't just these complete, like, badass characters and nothing else. They're human too, and it gets more into that later with one side quest in particular that is really funny how they handle the Turks. But yeah. Anyways, if you go up there, this is where you can find some treasure here, but the way out is the way that the Turks left. So yeah. Oh, battle. What do we got? What do we got? Oh, I love the enemy designs in this game. Oh, I'm just showing off flamethrower here. There we go. It does a good amount of damage. And there we go. That's that. Enemy skills help a lot. Use enemy skills. They are good. They're good things. Like I said, I won't be getting every enemy skill, but I will be getting all the ones that I use consistently when I play this game. Just because, there I am moving Cloud to the back row. I forgot about that. But, not every enemy skill is super useful, but, and also maxing out enemy skills is a pain in the ass, so I don't recommend doing it. Just get the ones that you find useful, or you think you would find useful, and kind of just leave the rest. But anyways, now that we're out of that cave, we're going to be searching for something. We're searching for a person in these woods, a certain enemy that's going to give us something that we want. The thing is, this is where the RNG bites me in the ass, because this is not, this person to appear, this enemy to appear, it is not super rare, but it takes me almost 15 minutes, and this is why the recording for this part was significantly longer than any other parts, which is why I felt the need to stop when I did. But then when it's all edited down, it's actually the shortest part so far, so that's my bad. But I guess that's what happens when RNG bites you in the ass. I'm just going to show off the new enemies that you can find here, and then I'm going to cut ahead to where I find what I'm looking for. She'll give us something that we want. But yeah, after you get out of that first cave, you can find this this person in any forest you go to at this point. And trust me, you're going to want to find her for reasons you will see in a moment. But we also got another battle. Enemies in the forest are typically stronger than enemies just in the like typical overworld. Like, these guys can hurt, and they come in packs, so just be careful with that. Like, look at that, they're doing 116 damage per hit, which I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but since there's, you know, 5 of them here, that can stack up real quick. So you're gonna want to, you know, just be careful. If a character gets it like below half health, be sure to heal, all that stuff. But thankfully, actually, because it took me so long to find this person, you will see I'm going to jump ahead like a couple levels here after the cut, because it took me so long, because I was fighting all the enemies. So I'm actually at a really good level for this point in the game. Like I said, grinding is not necessary, but you know, it also can't hurt either. So yeah. Which is nice, you know, being at a good level is nice. And also, later on, once again, need to stress this, you don't need to grind. But later on, I will show you a really good grinding spot that can get you very over-leveled pretty fast. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to cut here. I put in, yeah, it took me nearly 15 minutes, so that's not good. But this is the enemy that you're looking for. She's nothing too bad. You just gotta, you know, beat her. And then we'll get to something interesting. I'm just going all out with the limit breaks. don't be afraid to use limit breaks. Because the more you use them, you can also, you know, upgrade your limit breaks, get better limit breaks later. So don't be afraid to use them. But anyways, this is different. We just got to talk to her, and be sure to say exactly what I'm saying here. You have choices on what to say. Be sure to say exactly what I'm saying here. So yeah, not interested. I don't want to fight you again. And she's just like thinking to run away. She thinks that we're intimidated by her. And then we have to say like, oh yeah, we're petrified. We're terrified of her. And then she's gonna leave. And then we're like, wait a second. I had to think for a second to remember what to say. We have to say, wait a second, because we actually are going to recruit her. This is the first optional party member in the game, and I'm actually going to be using her pretty extensively because I think she's really good. And she also has a long-range weapon, so I like using her. This is Yuffie. We will see Yuffie in action next part, but Yuffie is a very good party member. Her limit breaks are pretty good, except for level 4 one is kind of disappointing, but that's not till way later. And her long-range attacks are really nice, so we can put all our characters in the back row. My party for now, I'm going to switch her out with Tifa, or switch Tifa out with her, just so, you know, we can actually, so then we can have eventually all characters in the back row. Barrett's in the front row right now, but he will get more long-range weapons later, and then we can have them all in the back row, so they're all taking half damage for physical attacks. Because like I said, what party members you bring with you doesn't really matter, because materia is all the same. Like, materia is not set to a specific character, and that's what's teaching you all the characters all their abilities and stuff. The only thing that makes them different is what kind of weapon they have and their limit breaks. So basically I bring along whoever has long-range weapons and whoever has limit breaks that I like. But limit breaks happen so infrequently that it's not really a big deal. And there's not any character... Well, actually, there is one character with bad limit breaks, but we'll get to that later. But for the most part, there are not characters with bad limit breaks in this game. So don't be afraid to use whoever you want, whoever you think looks cool, whoever has weapons that you like, stuff like that. And I'm just readjusting all the materia and stuff. Yuffie is very good with magic, if I'm remembering correctly, so I typically make her in my party, if I'm using her, a black mage of sorts. She doesn't have very much HP, but she makes up for it because she can hit pretty hard with magic attacks, so she's good to have. She also gives you a throw materia, which I never use, but if you like throwing weapons at enemies, then that's nice. But anyways, we are heading to Junon now, because that's where the Turk said we needed to go. But we will be going to Junon in the next part. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time for more Final Fantasy VII.